What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And once a month, I host conversations for fathers and dads that are co-sponsored by Dove Men Care and Canada's national fatherhood organization, Dad Central. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Many times people say you are just on the go, on the go, on the go. Well, I'm nothing close to the gentleman we're going to be sharing with us this evening. Ryan O'Neill Knight has built multiple businesses over the last 10 years and spends a great deal of his time leading and mentoring young entrepreneurs. After starting Detailing Nights, a mobile wireless car cleaning company, he was able to launch his first young entrepreneurship program called Knighthood Academy. Knighthood Academy was designed to help at-risk youth in the community develop their leadership skills through an entrepreneurial boot camp. Various youth with multiple barriers have accessed the program, ranging from high school dropouts, past gang members, and those recently released from detention. He is also an active board member within the Peel Learning Foundation, helping to bring alternative resources to youth in the Peel District School Board. Now, I have a worldwide audience, so Peel is in the western part of what we call the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. So just to give you some context, he's been named one of Brampton's, which is a part of the GTA, northwest part of the GTA, Brampton's top 40 under 40, and twice nominated for a Business Excellence Award by the Brampton Board of Trade in 2014 and 2019. In 2013, he won the Emerging Entrepreneur Award from the Toronto Region Board of Trade. He has a deep passion for his community and is one of the co-founders of the AfroCaribbean Business Network, which is a nonprofit organization created to help entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, ACH, not only to start businesses, but to help their companies grow and become assets for future generations. Along with the vision of helping youth in every city around the world experience entrepreneurship, he is bringing years of startup expertise, award-winning youth work, marketing, advertising, and business operations. He's a current contributor to a local radio station in town, CFRB News Talk 1010, appearing every Monday morning. Man, that must be a drive from Brampton down to downtown Toronto every morning in that traffic. Not for me, to access current affairs and from an African Caribbean heritage business owner's perspective. He is married to a wonderful lady, Cheriton, and has two wonderful children, Christian and Jasmine. We are going to have him on the show tonight, sharing about the ABC Microphone Loan Fund in collaboration with the Alterna Savings Credit Union. So welcome back, Mr. Ryan O'Neill Knight. Mr. Knight, how are you?
I am, as you say, blessed and highly favored. I'm going to use that. I feel like I'm in such a good mood. I don't know. Maybe it's because I know I'm coming on to talk with you.
Well, look where you're at, and look who you're with.
Exactly. I can't complain. Like, this is where I need to be. I love talking with you and having these conversations. So much things are happening around us, and now it's really to find what puzzle piece do I play in the masterpiece. So I'm always excited about that.
Well, you know what? Most of the time when I read someone's background, I say, tell us a little bit about yourself. I don't know what more I can say. Right. like my goodness, like right. What we're going to do for the new people who do not know about you yet, right. Can you give a little bit of context background before all this stuff we shared, where you grew up, all that kind of stuff?
Sure. I mean, born in Toronto, St. Joseph's Hospital, grew up in the Jane and Finch area, specifically Shoreham, and then I moved again to Keelan Wilson area and went to Ancaster School. And then when I was 7, moved to Brampton. So now been in Brampton for about 30 years. And thank you for dropping the map, letting people know we're northwest of Toronto.
Yeah. When you have a worldwide audience, I have to sort of give some people some, visual map guidance,
Yes. And I feel I want to change the narrative of Brampton. A lot of times, even when I would travel and they'd ask you, oh, where you're from? And you're so conditioned to say Toronto so that people know where you're actually somewhat located. I want to start saying Brampton. And then when a person asks, oh, where's that? explain it to them. It's like, yeah, we're just outside of the city of GTA, and go into a conversation about Brampton. I mean, we're the 9th largest city in North America. We need to start acting like it. And
What?
people don't know. We're over
What?
600,000, just our little Brampton.
Yeah, like I go to Brampton now and there's no land, no open
Dude, it's
land.
all developed. Yeah, it's wild.
Oh my goodness.
And it's
Well,
a progression, right?
yeah, it's been so you've seen the city grow.
Yeah. And I mean, because I was there when we moved there, it was about 300,000. And so we literally seen it double in the span that I've been there, and
Wow.
learning about the deep roots of Black inhabitants in Brampton. It goes back to the 1800s. And these are things that they don't teach you in school, just the history of your own city. I would have loved to know that kind of lineage and learn more about it.
Sure.
So as I'm learning now, it's awesome to uncover these things.
Where did you get your foundation for being an entrepreneur?
Ooh, good question. I know my dad would always drop the seed of, hey, if you want to be rich, start your own business. You want to control your own destiny, start your own business. And I mean, I really didn't know what an entrepreneur was in high school. They never talk about it. So when now, you do kind of your side hustles. I remember when I was going to school for accounting, my finance teacher, hired me as their bookkeeper. And so that was the first business that I started. And I didn't know I was to call myself an entrepreneur. I just realized that, hey, I'm learning how to do bookkeeping. I can do this person's books and get paid for it. I had to learn how to invoice. I had to learn how to, create a schedule, go into people's receipts and organize all these things you're learning on the fly. If somebody had told me in high school that, hey, what you are doing or what I feel like you might be good at is running your own business, I would be on a completely different trajectory. And that's what we really try to instill into these youth right now that are in school, to just expose them to the ability to start your own business. Because when you start thinking about business operations and business ownership, you move through the world differently. And I talk about my daughter all the time. We wrote a book together and now incorporated Jazz and Dad Inc. So the book is called Jazz and Dad Start a Lemonade Stand. And so now incorporating us as a business and showing her that, yeah, you don't have to ask dad to buy you stuff. You can actually generate your own income and then use that money. We took like $100 out of it that she can use as spending money and not feel guilty about it, not have to beg her parents and have to go through that whole song and dance. She has this money, she can go spend it, and the rest we're saving for education. But now when she talks to even her classmates, she's talking about a business that she has. She's like, oh, by the way, I wrote a book. And then they get the question, and she can talk, oh, here's the book and here's the website. She built her own website. It's just things that if you don't expose them to it, they're not going to experience it. So I love seeing her blossom and really take on entrepreneurship in her own way, and not to force her and make sure that, take her out of school and go full board. It's like, no, it's a side thing that helps just give you another perspective on how you can move through the world. And it's not all just one path. And that's what we tell to the youth as well. They feel like if they fail academia, then life is over. There's no more options. Entrepreneurship is that other option, and they just need to know that it exists. And now there is support in the community. So when you're starting your own business, you're not starting it on your own. You have the ACBN, you have the Black Chamber of Commerce, you have the BBPA. Now there's Black Opportunity Fund, Black North Initiative, Black Philanthropy. There's so much support for Black entrepreneurs that you should not feel alone. We are here to support you.
Excellent. Fantastic. We have some people watching live. Olivia, Kojo. Oh, everyone's, look at this. People jumping in. Fantastic. A question to ask in regards to, especially your younger days, where did the passion come to help younger people?
I in school, it was interesting because if I was going to school nowadays, I would have probably been put on medication, diagnosed with ADD or something, because I wasn't the child to sit still, and that's putting it mildly, always getting into trouble. And my parents saw, and even my teachers saw that I was getting into trouble because I was bored. So now going through school in grade 9, I realized that, okay, I think I need to put some focus on school. I went from public to Catholic. Really, it was almost like faking it to make it. So I said, I'm going to be a nerd. I am going to study, wear my cardigan, I wear my uniform, and then going through that.
I hope one day we see pictures of that, by the
way. I wonder if somebody will come out with this sooner or later. But yeah, like true nerd. And so being able, after, and then kind of falling off. And once I got my license and you start, chasing girls and school becomes secondary, you start skipping, you kind of fall off. And I realized that, so luckily I graduated. Luckily I fell off in OAC, and the kids now don't even know what OAC is. There used to be a grade 13. So that year was my worst year in high school. And it was lucky that it was that year because I still was able to graduate. But that's when I started getting in trouble with the law. And then over the next few years, you're going back and forth with your probation officer, and he's telling you, why are you here? You have so much potential. So you're hearing that over and over again. And that's a path that youth are going through right now. So I didn't start the company knowing that, I need to help youth coming out of detention. I need to find youth that are struggling with school or may have dropped out or are in conflict with the law. That was my path. I knew I went through that path, and it took both my parents to keep me out of jail. I remember the officer I was standing there pretty much being released, and my parents were with me, and he said, if your parents weren't here with you, you would be locked up overnight and the courts would just deal with you. So knowing that literally my privilege, my circumstance saved me from what youth are going through right now. And when I talk to these youth at the detention centers, and you realize that they were on the same path I was, and it's just like they made a mistake and now they're paying for that mistake. So when they do get released, they shouldn't be released into just trying to figure it out for themselves. We can now build systems and processes to support them so that we can train them while they're in and getting ready to be released. And as soon as they are released, they're hitting the ground running. They're not being released and then trying to find employment, then trying to figure out where they're going to live, what kind of supports do they still have. All those things should be taken care of before. And I mean, future vision is that when a youth does get into trouble, we're able to be an option instead of jail. We can say, like, listen, give them a chance to work with us or work through a program that the community creates to say, show them that an option exists to tap into their potential, tap into what those skills that they're already using right now, just in the wrong, you could say, wavelength or frequency. And when you use those same skills into entrepreneurship, now the sky's the limit. The ability to grow a company is infinite, and you can sleep better at night. Like, that's the story I tell when I go in there. It's like, I was mixed up in the wrong crowd, and you don't sleep well. And that's what resonates with them, because they're like, there's always something you have to look out for. And entrepreneurship takes you out of that mold, and you sleep so much better knowing, and then being able to then give back to the community, again, just adds to the fulfillment of your life. So being able to build this option, it just made sense because I came from it.
Good stuff. I won't spend too much time on it, but I wanted to talk just briefly about the detailing nights, the mobile washless car cleaning company. What did you learn, and how did that help you grow to where you are today, the detailing nights experience?
I remember my first mentor when I sat down with him, and he was a customer, and we cleaned his car, and afterwards he liked our process. He's like, oh yeah, it seems like you're pretty professional. You know what you're doing. You have good follow-up with your emails. Would you want business advice? And that was the first time anybody had ever asked me that. I was like, sure. I mean, I'll sit down with you. He was a person that sold his business for millions of dollars. And so you feel privileged to be able to sit down with a person that's done it. And he was like semi-retired. So I was like, yeah, listen. And that first meeting, he asked me, have you called? So he asked me, who are my suppliers? He said, have you called the president of that company to ask them about like pricing? I was like, call the president? Why would a president even answer the phone? Literally, he found the number, called, and got the president of our main supplier on the phone, had a conversation. By the end of the month, we had reduced our supplier costs by 75%. And it just made me realize that entrepreneurs are all on the same level playing field. No matter what your background, there's really no barrier to starting your own business. I remember I borrowed $250 from my father-in-law, and a lot of my other family members supported the journey. And just starting from that, $250, that's something that we can support anybody to start their own business. And now it's even cheaper. You can put up a Wix website like my daughter did for free, and it walks you through the whole process. And now you can sell stuff that you're talented in producing. So all that to say, it's like, there really is no excuse. And so being paired up with that initial mentor to expand my perception of myself, to show me that I do belong, I am a businessman. I'm not just a Black kid that came from Jane and Finch and Keelan Wilson. It's like, now when you walk into a room, you are on par with, like, I'm the CEO of my own company. So you can talk to other CEOs of other companies and not feel intimidated. And that's where I feel like that mindset change allowed me to now start teaching it to the youth, because that's the one thing that's missing, is they have stopped dreaming. And like you ask them, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And a lot of them will say, with a minimum wage job, or sometimes as cryptic as it is, they'll say alive. Like, I just want to be alive in 5 years. And then you think about, acquiring a minimum wage job, you can do that within a couple weeks. You have to like expand your mind into what can you conceive of that you can't see right now. But a lot of us, we were in survival mode. You are really just trying to make it to the end of the week. Even some grown adults are just going check to check, and they're not thinking further ahead. And that's what my mentor said as well. It's like, he doesn't just prepare for his children or even their children. He's thinking 4 generations deep. How does he build a nest egg that puts the great grandchild through post-secondary school, or has them set for life? Things like that I never even imagined was possible. So now that's what helped me take detailing nights from just me going out cleaning cars and in Brampton to now 2021, we're expanding across Canada in 12 cities and into the US, into every major city in the States. So that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't meet somebody to show me that it can be done.
Okay, excellent. That's great. Well, I'm going to transition quickly to the ACBN. Yes. How did that start? Like, to me, it's not that long ago that you started that, and it's done such exponential great work in a short period of time. Where did the vision come to start the Afro-Caribbean Business Network?
Yeah, and really, as I was operating detailing nights, 2 things happened. One, we were looking to expand our company, franchise it across Canada and into the US. So this was a couple years ago. Well, actually, I would say 4 years ago. So ACBN started 2 years ago, approx. So 4 years ago with detailing nights, we're trying to figure out, okay, who in our community can help us with expansion? So you go to, I'll call them out. I go to the BBPA, go to the JCA. I went to the Jamaican consulate and said, this is what we're looking to do. And really the response we got is, that's not within our mandate. Like, we don't help entrepreneurs franchise. We don't help them expand. So I put it out to the network. I said, hey, meet with me. We're going to figure out how we can support business. And the second thing that happened at the same time is youth that were going through our program didn't have a local Black focused business support organization to tap into. The only thing was the Small Business Center in Brampton and the Small Business Center in Toronto and Mississauga. Hey, they do a great job. I'm a product of theirs. I went through their summer company program, their starter company program, but they missed the perspective that another Black entrepreneur, when you're talking to them, they understand how you're being treated when you go into the bank. They understand when the customer comes out and you're working with your white employee, and then they approach the employee and ask us like, wow, is this your business? That's so great. And then they're kind of like, nah, my boss is over there. Or they're so excited that I've started a business. Like it's such a anomaly to see a Black business owner, and they don't realize how condescending it starts to sound, where they're like, man, this is amazing. I can't believe that you did. It's like, no, we should normalize that Black entrepreneurs exist. And this is what, it's kind of like a North American thing, because if you grew up in the Caribbean or you grew up in different countries in Africa, that's what you're seeing every day. So I love those conversations where you have with a person that moves here and they're like, why? Like, this is not new. Like, seeing Black people in professional situations or as entrepreneurs is not new. And it shouldn't be new here in Canada either. This is what I really feel like, if there's one thing that I become known for, or a legacy that I can leave behind, is moving the needle on the stereotype of how Black people are perceived in Canada. Just when you're approaching another Black person, I want that first thought to be like, oh, I wonder what business that person is running, and then let them prove otherwise. Instead, media has been very, very good at showing us the dark side of what they feel like Black people could like do in a negative way. So when you approaching another Black person, I'm talking about myself. If I'm approaching a Black person, the initial thought to me is something negative. I'm like, why am I thinking that? Why? And you're fighting against this like deep programming, and it's going to take a bit. I feel like it might not be like me being able to completely normalize it for myself, but for my children, my daughter sees me as an entrepreneur. So she already has that baked in, that it's possible for her. And now she's an entrepreneur. So to her friends, they at least can look at knowing, they will know a Black entrepreneur that was in their grade 3 class. Like, that won't be a surprise to them when they grow older and meet other Black entrepreneurs. So, I mean, I was telling somebody my mega vision is for us Black parents to all incorporate our children. Each child right now that is under 18 should start their own corporation and start to move different through the world. Because if you see how businesses operate and how you treat your business, you'll perceive things a lot differently than just going through the world trying to get a job. So that, I'll drop that seed. So if any parents are out there, think about incorporating zoning. Actually, if you do it yourself, it's like $200 and something. So if you go through the online portal, you can do it yourself, $300, and start getting your children to generate income for themselves as a business.
Yes, generational wealth is a very key thing. And I'm a strong proponent that if Black people around the world are going to move forward, they have to control their media, they have to control their education, and control their business. Those to me, those are the three pillars. So I'm doing the media thing. Ryan's doing the business thing, and I think he's also trying to do the education thing.
I would pitch to you, actually, you need a breakfast television show. Like, we should be seeing you every morning when we wake up.
I received that. So we'll talk offline about it. No, I'm being very serious. I'm sure that you have some ideas on how we could make that happen, so we can address that offline. Actually, and we're going to take some questions. We got a question in real time right now, which is really good, that I think some segues right into the 221. So Kojo is asking a question. This is interesting. He says, how has the drinks business going through COVID? But I think maybe I'm going to generalize a little bit more. How has Black business been dealing with COVID?
Yeah, and this is where it gets tough being a resource for Black businesses, because you hear the good and you hear the bad. So with COVID, nobody was prepared for it. So now trying to navigate the different ways that the different incentives that have come through, like the federal government, and then finding out that some businesses that did qualify on paper will still go into the banks and getting declined. I mean, CEBA, they had to do 4 iterations of CEBA, which stands for the Canada Emergency Business Account. So you can get the $40,000 interest free. And then not only were that people that were qualified getting declined, that I feel like was on the government and the banks, but there were a big chunk of business owners that just were not qualified. They either weren't registered. When it first came out, you had to have payroll. So they didn't have payroll, well, because they weren't registered. And then when they had version 2 and you were able to now just submit your expenses, people didn't have. So it was interesting the way they structured it. It wasn't just that you spent X amount of money, let's say last year, or you're going to spend X amount this year. The government wanted to see that over the year, you have a contract that you're paying X amount per month. So if that doesn't total up to 40,000, even though you're going to buy $40,000 worth of food that you sell at your restaurant, if you don't have a contract with your supplier that says every month you pay X to get X inventory, they would not count that invoice, whether it's over 40,000 or not. So that was something where business owners weren't structured like that. We don't structure to create a supply chain that has an agreement with a supplier and you just pay monthly. So you can already see the language is not for how we do business. So there's a baseline that we have to get to.
Well, it's interesting, and like there is Olivia is giving suggestions for my proposed morning show now. So Ryan, you see what you You see that? You see that?
I will be the first sponsor. Listen,
we're gonna talk about this offline, brother, because you're gonna if it God willing it happens, you're gonna be the first guest. I'm gonna say this is what caused this.
I will receive that. I accept
all right.
that.
Okay. So Moy says she wants to be first guest, so there's a fight is already on. All right. I want to roll up my sleeves a little bit because I want to know, because one of the things about the situation with COVID and Black business is that, and correct me if I'm wrong or push back on me, I think that what was happening was inevitable, but COVID only amplified a situation of concern.
I will definitely agree with that because we call it like the fourth industrial revolution, where technology is now the amplifier, the exponential driver of the world. And too many business owners are not, I don't say you don't have to become a tech company, but we're not taking advantage of tech trends. So when we talk about supply chain, it's not just to say, oh, now you're a high scale unicorn tech company. It's like, no, there's different areas in the supply chain that you can optimize, and technology can help you do that. For a quick example, a person that has a patty shop, they think they have to make all the patties, but there's machines or technology that they can implement into the supply chain that now allows them to, one, grow or maximize how much they can do output for that day, and two, you can now duplicate yourself in another location and start to franchise. Because if it's only you that is able to make the thing, you can't duplicate yourself. But if you use technology to duplicate yourself, and this machine now can operate without you having to pull every lever, that's how you franchise. And that's the conversation I try to have with more business owners, is document everything you do. That game plan that you create, you give that to somebody else, and now you've empowered them to make money with the machine that you built, but it also makes you money. And then you can do that over and over again. All you're doing is looking for people to run your machine. You give them the keys and the machine works. But when it's just you, your potential, it's capped at what you can do every day, and you get burnt out. You can only make so much patties in one day. Like, you have to be able to get it past yourself.
Well, some comments here. There's an organization that both of us know. Here's Bear Slate saying you boys are trouble. Well, you know what? We're John Lewis. We're good trouble. We're not just trouble.
True.
We're good trouble. Kojo is saying scalability. Absolutely. Bear Slate again. Yes, make technology work for you, not work against you. Ryan, you are so right. Olivia says systems. Exactly.
Boom.
I have been exposed to organizations in the Black environment, profit and not for profit. And one of the concerns, one of the challenges I see that a number of them have is lack of process, lack of governance.
And
would you like to share a little about that?
And people look at us and they marvel that ACBN has done so much in a short amount of time. And it was really because as I learned how to franchise detailing nights, I really just took that same methodology into ACBN. And again, we have not executed, I would say close to perfect, but there were things that we were able to put in place that allowed part-time volunteers to execute things bigger than the 7 of us. So when we put on a symposium and sold it out and it was at the BBPA, you have BBPA staff looking around like, you can see that they were not expecting us to put on such a good event. So that's where the business acumen helped the nonprofit structure. And so putting that process in place to say, okay, what's the org chart? Who's going to be in charge of what? Focus on what you have committed to, and then letting it run. So not trying to do everything, having team members that can take their little piece, and you flatten out the stress that typically one person is trying to do everything. So over an entire year, we're able to execute a networking event every month. We're able to do business building workshops, and also taking into account that I want to learn. So we were doing a lot of events that selfishly, I just wanted to learn from the people that we were able to bring in to speak. So it's weird when you're working on projects that, and this is how I graduated from Sheridan College, and people might not know this. I took 10 years to complete a 3-year diploma. So totally drifting. And then finally in 2009, I was laid off, and people might know 2 weeks before my wedding, I decided, okay, I'm going to start this business. My brother loved to clean cars. I was going back to school for accounting, so I was handling the business. It wasn't until I started a business and then was taking accounting, and everything I was learning, I was running back home to implement it. It's like, oh, we need to incorporate because we're going to get all these benefits. This is how we need to do our taxes. This is how we need to do our bookkeeping. Everything, like, I was just soaking it up. And it's almost like you graduate by accident. You're like, oh, yeah, we got enough good enough marks to pass. But if there wasn't that, and I can tell you, it took 7 years in order for me to finally get serious about wanting to graduate, or at least wanting to learn, because over those 7 years, it was the same content, but it was so dense, and really taxation and auditing. I, to this day, don't know how I passed that auditing class, except that I had my own inventory. So going back to my garage and saying, okay, I need to count my inventory. So you're practicing auditing because you're learning that in class. So when the test comes, it's like, yeah, I've been doing this. So it wasn't like I had to memorize stuff in a book. We could take what you're being taught and apply it. And that, to me, experiential learning is the best way to teach. And entrepreneurship really can only be taught hands-on. So using that just as a way to actually execute education, that's where I feel like we're putting ourselves on a different level.
So a number of things I'll just add on with what Ryan just said. I tell entrepreneurs, you don't have to be perfect all the time. You have to be perfect at the right time.
Timing, yes.
Yes.
and it doesn't have to be 100%.
That's right.
90% out the door.
Another huge thing is, I think one of the biggest things that's holding back entrepreneurs, ask for help.
Big time. And that, so, when we were putting on the symposium at Sheridan College, I just called you. I was like, listen, I need help with this. Literally, at least 75% of the people that were in that room, I had a conversation saying, we are trying to do something with Sheridan and I need help. You can look through how many people I messaged on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, are you busy this day? Because this is something that is beyond us. Like, I want to do something for the community, but I need that help. And that just builds relationships where you're vulnerable, but you're not weak. It's like asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It actually gets stuff done.
No, absolutely. And Ryan had reached out to me, and the funny thing is that led to me meeting Bear Slate.
Yes.
That led to me getting a co-op student from Sheridan.
Yes, see that?
So all those things. So and Ryan, again, it's people don't realize that I tell people I don't like connections, I like relationships.
True.
To me, two totally different things. And Ryan is really, with his success, family-wise and business-wise, relationships are important. Bear Slate is saying, absolutely, actually, you retain 50% of the knowledge when you learn with someone. Yes, always ask. And Bear Slate says, yes, the Sheridan event, best event. So, and also Kojo is saying, there's nothing wrong with appointing mentors to learn from. It's called trade. Like that. Well
Absolutely.
said. Well, we could go all night, so I'm going to transition to our next conversation topic here. I guess we're going to link these together. The $221 million that's being put aside by the Canadian federal government for Black businesses, and it's number of different amounts of dollars of that 221, but then also your collaboration with some other organizations making microloans available. So share with us all that crazy stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much people know. I mean, we've been trying to do info sessions about it for a while, but there's $221 million that was announced by the federal government. So there's three components to it. And this was, mind you, launched or announced on September 9th. So that's like almost 2 months ago. So the first section is the National Ecosystem Fund, where they're going to be through a regional development agency. So remember that term. They're going to be selecting organizational partners in the Black community to increase their capacity. So what I've been told is that that money is for nonprofits. So Black entrepreneurs are excited about the whole 221. Reduce that by 93.
You got to read. I thought about 221, but you got to read the details.
And then, so the second piece of it is this loan fund. So 33 million from the government, but 3 million is admin, so 30 million, and 128 million from the banks. So this is where I was disheartened with the announcement, because I could foresee the barriers. And a lot of what this announcement was about is the problems that Black entrepreneurs are having with banks. And we were in consultations with the minister's office. We were asked to do research. We surveyed our members. We came back with, hey, they're having issues at the banks, so look into these situations. But overall, we need our own intermediary. So if anything's announced, that intermediary can get the funds and then they can disperse it directly. Yeah. And, I mean, if we go deep, the infighting within our own organizations, I feel like
that's a whole other conversation.
Right. So
I don't want to go there right now.
But that's what allowed them to partner with the banks. So now they're like, oh, we're going to release this announcement in partnership with the banks. And that now has become a bottleneck. So, but it shouldn't have been a bottleneck, because the government has its own 30 million and the banks have 128. I was saying, just run with what you got. That 30 million, put that out, and then let the banks come on board afterwards, because that would put pressure on them to say, hey, you committed to this thing, but like, we're already moving forward. So, okay, I mean, out of MP Greg Fergus's mouth, he said 6 months. Don't expect anything to roll out for 6 months. These things take time. I'm fine with that. At least we have a bit of a timeline. But now the loan fund is from 25,000. So the loans will be 25,000 to 250,000. Our research was showing that entrepreneurs needed between $500 to $15,000. So even when it does get released, there's going to be a gap of entrepreneurs that what we were finding, they just needed help getting to baseline. So that could have been incorporating their businesses or registering their businesses, getting coaching, getting their financial statements in order, getting their bookkeeping up to date, getting their tax filings up to date. So that could be $1,000, maybe even $2,000, and now they would qualify for SEBA. So just spending $2,000 would actually get you access to $40,000. So this is where that gap that the loan fund that the government has announced is going to miss those folks, and they'd have to now come up with a way that they need 25,000, which is counterintuitive. So we were able to partner with Alterna Savings, actually our co-working space Empowered for X, SETSI, the social economy through social inclusion, and Dream Legacy Foundation, we were able to now create our own microloan program. And what I'm really excited about is that we're going to be able to house this program in a business development hub for Black entrepreneurs, thanks to Isaac Olawolafe from Dreammaker, because he built a hotel that is empty. So now we can actually repurpose this building that is new into the first ever Black focused business development location for us to amplify what we're doing, change our mindset, become more confident, and move through the world with strength. I always call it moving from offense or defense to offense. We've been on defense for way too long. It's time for us to go on offense.
You are reading my alleged mind, Ryan, in regard to that, because one of the things I was going to share with people is be on the offense.
Boom. We got to shift.
Be on the offense. It's so important to be on the offense. And I think a lot of people have to, a lot of it is mindset. And I think another thing too is people have to distinguish between investment and expense.
Absolutely. And that's how they look at loans. A lot of times it's looked at, oh, I don't want an expense. But if you invest it properly into your business, the payments so you're supposed to be able to invest this money, grow your sales, and then use that money to pay for the line item that is your loan repayment. To me, that's free money. Like that's leverage. So if you're able to leverage capital in order to grow your business, the loan repayment should be an automatic. And I feel like that's how other communities deal with capital and deal with the banks differently than us. We look at a loan, like you said, as an expense, and we're like, oh, I don't want loans, I want grants. There are not a lot of grants for for-profit business owners. And that's where like loans is actually a lot quicker to access. Grants, I mean, you can write a grant, it might take 4 to 6 months and you still might be declined. So you can't pause your business operations waiting for a grant, but you can leverage a loan that you can get within 7 days. And for us, we're working on that 30-day timeline to be able to accept an application, make sure that they have a strong business plan, cash flow projections, and then put them through our loan review committee and get them funding right away. And if they do need supports like financial statements or tax filings, we have expertise in the community that we've connected with that can now get that done for you. And hey, it can be underwritten by a loan from us.
There you go. Well, see, one of the things I like about this, and I tell business owners, find the need and fill it. Don't find the need and kill it.
Right.
So here's an example. Ryan said, this government thing is taking way too long. And you also realize the big thing for entrepreneurs, it's got to be bigger than you.
True.
You've got to realize that it's got to impact more than yourself. True. So he and his team and his people, that they're all working together, realize, let's do something that's going to benefit more than us, like us, the immediate people. This is benefiting a community, and God willing, it benefits generations to come.
Absolutely. And putting our money where our mouth is, because the loan fund can go
Skin
up to
in the game.
Right?
Skin in the game.
So we put up the first amount of money for it.
So let me ask, has this process started yet? If it has, what's been the results so far, or are you still in pre-launch?
Well, so that was my biggest complaint with the 221 launch, is that there wasn't an actionable item that people could do that were interested. So I had to make sure that when we announced that we're putting together a microloan program, we created the form so that anybody that we call it a financial needs assessment. So if you're looking for funding, you would fill out the form. Within 3 days, we had 76 people fill it out. And then I've been booking meetings or initial, I'll say, onboarding calls for next week and the rest of November to talk with these entrepreneurs, see where they're at, what stage they're at, and how much money they're looking for, what types of supports they might need to strengthen their business plan and their cash flow projections. So that is in process. We just inked the agreement with Alterna. So they're legal, you go back and forth. That is signed off. And now November 5th is really to announce that it's live. We already really started the process, but just to give substance to what we're doing so more people know about it is what November 5th is about. And now, yeah, so the process is really already started. People have signed up more than I was expecting. So we are good to go.
Wow. So I hope you're not doing each one of those 76 onboards.
Hey, Sheridan College, we have some co-op students. No, the initial listen,
there you go.
The initial 20 that are booked for next week, I will be talking to those entrepreneurs myself.
Okay, Bear Slade is saying yes. Don't forget, you can also get COJC grant to cover up to 80% of training cuts for things like customer service, bookkeeping, time management, processing, etc. So she's giving her own plug there because she knows she does it, right?
Definitely talk about that. Yeah.
Right. So there you go. Creating opportunities and relationships is huge. So, but you just said something. You weren't expecting so many people to sign up. Why?
I don't know. I feel like I still see ourselves as the babies of in the nonprofit world. You know, like and again, we're offering between 500 to 25,000 is our our sweet spot.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, you just feel like you put things out. If one person responds, at least we can help that person.
That's a success, man.
Right? But knowing that
success, everything else on top of that's gravy, my man.
But now knowing that there's 76, that actually gives us leverage to one, show the government, hey, that program that you announced, here's the literal data of who you're missing, because these people are looking for under 25,000. And also for other Black support organizations or Black business support organizations to say, these are the people that are asking for help. Just like you said, they have now taken that first step and said, I know I need support. I am asking.
There you go.
Now it's on us as organizations that said out loud and in our mission statement and in our vision statement that we are going to help Black entrepreneurs. Boom, we have our marching orders. Whatever it takes, let's get it done. Like, there's no excuses. So, right, like you said, roll up your sleeves, right?
Yeah. So there's a grab the loan and train your people. And
then if you qualify for the grant, boom, it gets reimbursed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is fantastic. What did you, when you started the network, did you see this vision?
I didn't see it going down this path. And really, to be honest, I saw us getting absorbed into the BBPA because we had that conversation with Nadine. I was like, hey, I know, well, you said that you're looking to expand. We started something out in Brampton, Peel. So if you ever want to come out to Peel, hey, we're happy to represent you. So I know they have like a massive national plan, but even right now, it's like we positioned ourselves to action things. So an announcement with no work plan, they could have said any number. Nothing has flowed out. So for us, even though it's small, knowing that we can roll out something, like you said, starts the momentum, and then we can build off of that. It was our announcement that Isaac saw, and he's like, oh, you know what? I feel like I can add to what you're doing. And now other organizations, the Black Opportunity Fund that had their town hall yesterday, they're now saying like, okay, this is something that we can rally around. So really getting this type of support, if we were just also waiting for the government to say, oh, it's been 6 months, hey, we're releasing the application, and then we decide to work on something, we would have wasted 6 months. And I feel like we've wasted all this time since March to really support Black entrepreneurs. There was no COVID emergency relief for Black entrepreneurs.
No, there was none.
It's too late to call anything emergency relief. Right? You missed that window. So now telling a person, oh, sorry, what's it?
No problem.
Telling anybody that they have to now plug in my computer before it dies.
No problem.
Yeah, telling a Black entrepreneur that they have to wait another 6 months. When we did the initial survey, there were 6 entrepreneurs that qualified on paper for SEBA, but went into the bank and were declined. Those were the 6 that we said to the government, listen, you need to help these 6 because they asked for the help and they're being declined for whatever reason. The bank is very vague. 2 of those businesses have gone, 2 of those entrepreneurs have gone out of business in the time that we've been waiting for the support. So when you tell me the pat on the head and be patient, don't expect stuff for 6 months, yet you see other programs get rolled out within weeks. CERB, the emergency relief benefit, was literally a landing page on the government website. You check a few boxes, you attest that what you checked off is true, you put in your banking information, and 3 days later, you got money into your bank account. Sign the Black community up for that. Make another page, and we will put us through the exact same program that you already have. So I don't buy that we have to be patient. They're able to do things quickly. It's just when it comes to us, it's always, we have to do this right. We have to make sure not to get this wrong. It has to be, we need as many consultations as possible with all the Black community. It just, I feel like the government's treating us wrong, and I'm finally cluing into the game that they're playing. It really clued in when they announced the $25 million that was going to support for the UN Decade of African Descent. It was announced 2 years ago, and then in April, it was announced again as if it was something new. So show me that you can roll that out before now you're talking about 221 million, where if it takes that same path that the UN Decade money took, we're not going to see anything for 2 years. So are you really here to support Black entrepreneurs? I feel like their actions can definitely be the proof instead of us trying to always just sit patiently and wait. Oh, I think we might have lost Dr. Vibe. So I will continue. There was another section of the 221 million that I forgot to touch on, and that's the Knowledge Hub. So they are putting 6.9 million, and I believe like 1.9 million of it is admin. So $5 million is going to go into this Knowledge Hub. And the Knowledge Hub is designed for institutions to partner with the Black community to do the data that's needed, or the data collection and the research that is needed in the community. And for us, we're focusing on the Black entrepreneurs. What's the landscape? Amoy Henry, she's doing great research already. So really figuring out how to partner with anybody else that is in the space doing research. And for us, we're connected more with Sheridan. And I know she's connected with other institutions. So hopefully when this funding comes out, we're now able to pool it into our own version of Black Stats Canada. I mean, StatsCan has the resources to create something like this already. So, I mean, hopefully they just take it on and we can use that 5 million to actually go into entrepreneurs' hands. But if not, if we do have to do the research with it, we need to create that independent body that houses our data so that any types of reports that we need for us, we can generate it ourselves. Oh, camera's off, but I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. So yeah, that is the rundown of the 221 million. I feel like we need to start doing stuff for ourselves. We should stop relying on the government, because this game that they're playing, yes, what's that, the new ecosystem? Yeah, the National Ecosystem Fund. That is what they're saying should be announced within 2 months. And this is something very key. So if you are running an organization and you're looking at applying for the resources coming through, or to be a partner with the National Ecosystem Fund, I was saying before, the regional development agencies in Southern Ontario, that is FedDev. So we need to start developing relationships with these types of entities. I would call FedDev, introduce yourself. We're trying to work with Sheridan College to do workshops and info sessions about what does it take to write a grant or write an application for FedDev, because it's a lot different than maybe other grants that we've written before. So really getting comfortable with this entity, since they are going to play a big role, and they might even be the entity that disperses these loan funds. Because I asked Minister Mary Ng, for the loan fund, are we going to be applying through the government, or are we going to be applying through the banks? And she mentioned at the announcement that it will be through the government. So if it's through the government, most likely it would be FedDev again stepping into that role. So, hey, when they released the RRRF, which was the Regional Recovery and Relief Fund, you had to be incorporated. They put priority on manufacturing, tourism, and high tech, like tech companies. So that might change since we're focusing on the Black community, but still, these are things that typically they prioritize. So if you're not in that realm, it's going to be difficult for you to navigate FedDev. You can't go in cold. So building that relationship, and if they're handling the loan fund, again, call them, understand their processes, get somebody's name there that you can call and ask questions. Don't start cold 6 months from now when the entire program is rolled out. And that's where the 33 million, so the 33 million that the government has, we are trying to put pressure on Minister Ng to move forward with a program with that 30 million instead of waiting for the banks, because the banks were the problem to begin with. And now they're the bottleneck for this support to go out, because they want to do a big splash with the 158 instead of just the 30 million. So if we can put pressure to get money into entrepreneurs' hands with that initial 30 million that the government has put up, that to me, like I said, instead of businesses going under, we can save a lot of businesses right now before the end of the year, get them prepped for the Christmas season that's coming up. That announcement on September could have supported entrepreneurs to stabilize to now get into their peak season and help them to pivot in case that business that they're in is not viable. But now that it's a waiting game, all our entrepreneurs are just figuring it out for themselves. Like, it doesn't make sense that there was no emergency support. The announcement that you make isn't ready yet. And we heard from MP Greg Fergus that it was announced without the plan. Like, we're building the plane as we're flying it. So these are things that we have to take them at their word that it's going to be slow. And I do understand that there's bureaucratic red tape or what have you. And that's something that we have to eat. Within the 6 months that it's going to take them to do their own thing, we now are able to put together our own supports. Like I mentioned earlier, ACBN was able to put up initial funds to start this microloan program. We're going to be reaching out to additional investors to make sure that the loan fund is as healthy as possible. Yes, I can actually get you, if I put in the chat, if you email me, so my email is brian.knight@acbncanada.com, or you can add me to WhatsApp. I'm pretty responsive on WhatsApp with my phone number 647-225-3309. I'll get you the contact for Susan Henry, that is the Community Investment Manager at Alternative Savings. She's very responsive, very open to support. She's the reason that we were able to put together this microloan fund. It was a 2-year conversation that we were able to now just execute because we saw that the need is there. We need to support Alternative. They're fighting for us to piggyback what they've already built instead of us trying to rely on the big five that don't have a microloan program. At least they don't have one in Ontario. Alterna does have one. So let's work with an entity that is actually supporting the community more than the big banks that just look at us like a spreadsheet data set. And, I was about to say something. And up to 6.5 million for the knowledge hub. Yeah, that, and again, that isn't technically for Black entrepreneurs. So really the only support that came out was the loan fund. So unless, I'm hoping that the National Ecosystem Fund, they can turn that into a granting program once they select their partners. That, again, the details aren't there. And I was glad that Nadine was the one that wrote in the Toronto Star for the Black Business Professional Association, the BBPA, that the government is going slow. This isn't what we signed up for. I know that they were part of the conversations, and this isn't what was proposed. We were proposing emergency support for Black entrepreneurs, and this has turned into more of a glorified announcement, and nothing is rolling out, no details, when it's very easy to create a sign-up form and tell people that we will get back to you within 24 hours or 48 hours. These are things that, as a business owner, it seems simple, but for government, it seems like it's not on their radar. So, hey, agreed, Nicole. That is exactly the point. Like, they are part of the financial institutions that are putting into the 128 million. So now they're the only one that has a program that allows the community to lead applications. They're allowing ACBN, they partner with us so that we can do the intake, we can do our own assessment, and we can approve. And then you go to Alterna if you don't have an Alterna business account, you would open one, and now you get your funds. And Alterna just tracks the payments and you get your business account. No other bank I've seen in Ontario allows a community organization to lead the process of intake, assessment, and approval. And the bank, I mean, Alterna's still in the fine print. They can veto a loan that they see that is like ridiculous. But really, they're there to take our word that we have worked with this entrepreneur and will work with the entrepreneur over the life of their loan, so that the probability of them defaulting on the loan is as low as possible. Like, that's what we really stake our name on, is that if we approve you, we have now, one, vetted your business plan, helped you with your financial modeling, helped you with your cash flow projections. And after you get the money, we're going to work with you for 12 months to make sure that you're hitting your milestones, and any supports that you need from experts in the community, we're going to be able to connect you with them. And that includes bookkeeping, accounting, marketing, what have you. And again, that call out to our community. If you are an expert that can support businesses, make sure you get in contact with me. My email again is ryan.knight@acbncanada.com. And my phone number is 647-225-3309. Be sure to be there on November 5th.
Where do I have to be on November 5th?
In front of your computer. You're going to be broadcasting from the new Black Business Development Hub and doing a virtual walkthrough so people can see what it's like. And yeah, just letting people know what's happening, and then it's time to get to work.
So, and my apologies on my end for the technical challenges, but I found a way, and I'm back in black, as you can see. I'm back in black, right? So we find a way. Like a good entrepreneur, you find a way. I know we're ending up the conversation. So Ryan, I would like a call. This is my question for you: a call to action for the government first. So I'll do it one at a time. So what's your call to action to the government, since you like them so much?
So my call to action would be, we have put on the table recommendations that can be actioned a lot sooner than 6 months. I would say demand would be that something rolls out to support entrepreneurs within the next 2 months. If it's not November, the latest it should be is December. I mean, at minimum, there should be a way to sign up if you're interested in these programs, so that they can now know who they have to reach out to. So tomorrow, they should be able to create a form like that. And within the next 2 months, I would say within a month, they should be able to roll out some sort of funding to Black entrepreneurs that do need it, emergency support for entrepreneurs should happen within the next month. Beyond that, that's different.
Okay, so my next request from you, a call to action to the Black business. Well, actually, now when I say Black business, should I separate between Black business and Black entrepreneurs, or do you want to put that in the same?
I put that in the same.
Okay, so Black business / Black entrepreneurs. What's your call to action for them?
Well, it's twofold
Yeah.
because if you have figured out how to weather the storm and you're starting to get your groove back, be a resource to other entrepreneurs that are now really struggling. And especially if they're in your industry, we have to start thinking collaboratively. We do not need multiple of the same industry when, as one unit, we can now start going after procurement. We can start going like pressuring the government to enforce these CBAs that say that 10% of spending on community projects should be within the community with social enterprises or Black entrepreneurs. So start to think about strategic alliances and also really tap into the supports that us as Black focused business organizations say that we're supposed to do. BBPA said it, ACBN has said it, there's CAMC, the Canadian Aboriginal Minority Supplier Council, the Black Chamber of Commerce has said it. We are here, we only exist to support Black businesses. So take advantage of any resources that we have. Make sure you're on all of our mailing lists. The Black Chamber just announced with Facebook Canada that they have a $500,000 grant program. Their form is open. Go to that website, blackchamber.ca/grant, fill it out, and put the onus on them to get in contact with you. Don't be holding the ability to get resources and procrastinate. Like that doesn't make any sense. So
I have a strategy for that, but we'll discuss that offline too.
So take advantage of these resources. Yeah. Sheridan College has the Edge Entrepreneurship Discovery and Growth Engine. Isaac has the Black Innovation Fellowship. The DMZ has just announced their boot camp again for Black entrepreneurs. The Toronto Enterprise Fund is doing their social enterprise boot camps, and they're launching an accelerator in the new year. All of these things, we have to layer on every single resource. Don't leave any stone unturned. Any funding that's there, if there's a grant, go to our grant writing working groups. Make sure you get your application in. The Red Cross one is due today if you're a nonprofit. I apologize. Like you have literally 2 hours to get it in. But there's a lot of things out there, and we found that a lot of entrepreneurs don't know about them. So
education.
Once you do know, don't let it miss. Don't miss it. Like don't miss.
Well, I'm a firm believer. I say to people, the more you know, the more you need to know.
And lifelong learning. You never know everything. Going into every day, knowing that there's something to learn, that's the way that we should move through the world. We can't move through the world as an expert. We move through the world as a learner.
And if you are an entrepreneur, make sure you hire some people that are smarter than you in some areas, and don't get your ego out of check by doing that.
Absolutely. Humble yourself. It's like, listen, pulling every lever when a person can do your accounting better than you can. I went to school for accounting and got my diploma, and I know better that I need to hire my bookkeeper, Deidreanne. Shout out to, RBFS. Yeah, shout out, and Celia and Ken from GMS. They're the ones that help.
That's Celia Milk. Yeah, I know Celia. Yes,
I know.
And
Ken Green.
Very good. They're very good.
Man, you tap into the people that are experts, like that do this for a living. Don't stress yourself out with things that people can help you with. And now we have these programs to get you access.
Nice. So the final message then will go, what is your message to Blacks who are not business people?
Become a business professional. Hey, proof is in the pudding. I wouldn't say that unless I saw it with my own eyes. My wife, Cheriton, I love her. She's a nurse, registered nurse. She has a great career. She came to our symposium and caught the bug. She's like, you know what? I've been thinking of this business and I'm going to do it. She launched Ebony Occasions, the Afro-centric greeting card company. And just watching her slowly, it's a side thing. Hey, it doesn't have to be your full-time gig.
Everyone should have a side. Everyone should have at least a side thing.
Yeah.
If you haven't received that thought process from COVID, your wood is wet. Sorry to say it that way, but I'm being very honest because
you miss it, man. You're like sleeping.
Yeah, because this is because people who weren't working from COVID, they go, am I going to have something even to go back to?
There it is.
And this is probably, in the people that are watching here, the greatest opportunity in our lifetime to amplify. Or as one of my compatriots would say, be more be smarter, resourcer, happier, calmer, offensiver. All these Earths, Dr. Tachi, right? So all those things. One final question for you. Nicole asked, I don't know if you answered or not, how can the community get behind the ask to the government and the Black Caucus?
That is a great question, because I am not a lobbyist. I don't pretend to be, but we have to learn that language. Is it a petition that we put together to say, hey, 6 months is not okay for the Black community? And we signed that. And I know Stacey Ann Berry, she's versed in kind of lobbying and working with government relations. I was actually talking with her earlier today, and I'm going to lean on her expertise. Like, listen, I need to learn how to navigate approaching the government, because listen, buyer beware. I have every single MP's contact info, MPP's contact info, counselor, mayor. I'm ready to carpet bomb them, but I want to learn how to do it strategically.
You got to know the rules of the game.
Exactly.
You got to know the rules of the game.
It's not about the angry Black man attacking every single politician. It's now, okay, we know how to reach out to them. What is the process to reach out to them respectfully, but with our demands? And the more that the community, maybe, I don't know, like the petition could be the thing to show we have 1,000 people that support this message. You need to take us seriously. And that would be it. I mean, like, whatever comes out of
man. That's it.
That's it.
You know what? I like to thank you for taking time, because I know most people wouldn't want to come live with me on a Friday evening with 2 kids, which, God bless, this time they didn't interrupt you, because usually I see them coming into the screen. So I don't know what magic you got going on, but you're doing something right.
See, we went out for takeout and they're enjoying their dinner. So
all right, feed them and keep them quiet, right?
Yes. Oh,
good
man.
Stuff.
And always great talking to you, sir.
Always a pleasure.
Next conversation.
No, it's great to catch up. Definitely, we have to have some offline conversations, because I know some people are going to be message bombing me about when's the online show going to be starting.
The show.
You know, it's almost like I don't know what, like, it's like, because Ryan said so. It's like anyone who watched wrestling, it was a guy named Steve Austin.
Yeah,
Steve Austin. It's like, because he would say, because Stone Cold said so. Boom. Now it's gonna be like, you got to do it, Dr. Vibe, because Ryan said so.
Hey, and I've committed that I will support that show. Like, I'm not just saying, go on.
Yeah, but you know what? The pressure isn't on him. You know, he's just putting it out there. He's putting the stress on me, right? He doesn't realize I don't got no hair left on my head. No, I got other places, but you know, that's TMI. But joking aside, I'd like to thank everyone who helped make this an epic conversation. Kojo, Bear Slate, Moy, Nicole, and others who watch this live or watching it on the replay, or who are going to be listening to it on the replay. I'd like to thank everybody. My name is Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2018 award winner, given out in the area of innovation. And also once a month, I host Conversations for Men live stream for fathers and dads. Pardon me. That are co-sponsored by Dove Men Care and Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. If you want to find out more about me, go to my website, dr.vibe.com. Everything's there. My 2,000 conversations, posts, contact information, etc., etc., etc. As always, I end off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions. Then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Thank you for BIA Media for the production of this epic conversation. God bless, peace be well, keep the faith, and remember, two things. Give yourself grace, and because we're talking business-wise, The richest Black person in America is a gentleman named Robert Smith. He has a personal wealth of $5 billion. A number of months ago, during all this crazy time, he had a message for Blacks. He said, don't waste this crisis. So if you're able, don't waste it. Find out about great organizations like what Ryan is doing so they can amplify you so you can come out of this more better in the days ahead. Good night, everybody.